Good evening and welcome to Sensual Talk, School of Sensuality edition. I'm your host and this evening's instructor, Emanuela Fernandes. Tonight, let's talk about the forgotten art of Tantra. What is Tantra? What are the practices that we can adopt in order to bring in more sensual delights into our everyday lives? I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. I hope you can stick around for the next 15 minutes or so. I want to thank Dronish Media for sponsoring this evening's presentation. Lots of things coming your way. I really hope that you can stick around. I want to, of course, welcome you to my home office. This is where I write. This is where I work. So I'm really excited that you're joining me this evening for this presentation on Tantra. And truly, Tantra is a misunderstood art in North America that I really want to talk about tonight. And I really hope that it will bring you some sort of a new understanding of what Tantra is and how easy it is to actually adopt it, and really make it a part of our lives. So once again, thank you for joining us. I want to also mention that after the show, you will be able to directly message me and I will be more than happy to send you handouts to this evening's presentation. So I have my PowerPoint ready, so let's get into it. I really hope that you will enjoy this. All right, so Professor Fernandez's cap is on. Let's go for Tantra 101. This is going to be amazing. Stick around. All right, so first and foremost, what is the forgotten art of Tantra? So here in North America, we often think of Tantra as something very complex, as something misunderstood, as something that probably is unattainable to an everyday person. And the truth is, Tantra is actually quite simple. Now, the question is, what made Tantra so complex in our eyes? And probably one of the people that we have to address is Mr. Sting, the one and only iconic Sting, who actually in the 90s made a comment that he makes love for 5 straight hours. I mean, that's great, but really, who's got the time? And I think that a lot of people associated Tantra with that kind of something that you have to put a lot of effort into. But the truth is, again, it doesn't have to be this complicated. Also, a lot of people associate, Tantra as something that is associated with Kama Sutra and something that, we have to work in order to learn. And again, it is a misunderstood concept because Tantra does not just apply to sexual pleasure. So sexual connotation does not always have to apply to tantric pleasure. So tonight we're going to talk about how simple it really is to bring in tantric pleasure into your life, whether you have a partner or you do not have a partner. Tantric pleasure, tantric living is something that is accessible to you and you can really try it in the comfort of your home. And I really encourage you to message me after so I can send you the notes from this evening's lecture. All right, so again, what is Tantra? So Tantra is something that kind of turns on our appetite for life. You see some people and they just naturally have that joie de vivre, right? As French say. So are they practicing Tantra? Perhaps. But I mean, again, it is something that we can learn and to really bring into every single aspect of our lives. And I think that today we're going to get a very good understanding of what Tantra is. All right, and again, Tantra is a very sensual path of life, and that's why it really kind of resonates with me, because the ability to experience life with all 5 of our senses. I mean, that's where I built my brand. That was the concept, how I built my brand. And it was particularly related to food. And we will talk a little bit more about the food. But it's really about being open to sensations that we have in our body. The sensations that we get through all 5 of our senses, our sense of hearing, our sense of touch, our sense of sight and smell, and so on. So Tantra teaches us how to be present in the moment. I mean, how can we be a little bit more alert, a little bit more aware? And again, it applies to things, kind of obvious things that come to mind when we think of Tantra, like sex, like sensuality, but it's really so, so much more. And also, Tantra teaches us something very spiritual. Tantra teaches us how to welcome the world of enjoyment and pleasure, and really guilt-free, because a lot of us, again, going back to the world of sex and pleasure and sexual pleasure, we often think of things like guilt, because that's something that some of us culturally are almost instilled when we are children. So Tantra actually heals and takes away those feelings of guilt and shame, because what actually happens is it shows us that it is okay to enjoy, that it is okay to live your life fully and presently, and to really, really be happy. And it also kind of encourages us to look for compassion and conflict resolution and bliss. And it tells us that it is okay to have the bodily bliss, whether you're experiencing it on your own or with someone else, and regardless of what kind of pleasure that is, whether it is sexual or pleasure through food, or pleasure through simply living life in a very open and way that is hyper aware. So that's one thing that Tantra teaches us. And because I am playing a professor tonight, let me just take a sip of water. That's what professors do, right? Because they talk too much. All right, so what else does the Tantra teaches us? So it's really teaching us how to be open to the emotions that we have. Because again, when we are small, we are said, well, don't be sad and don't be upset, right? So that teaches us that we have to suppress our emotions. And when we suppress our emotions, they don't really go anywhere. They don't disappear. However, once we are able to really experience them fully, and we are able to embrace them and to say, listen, this is who I am and this is how I feel, our negative emotions and negative feelings can actually shift towards something incredible, like forgiveness, like growth, like acceptance. So really, Tantra really teaches us so many more things, more than just sexual and sensual pleasure. So it's really a very deep philosophy that again brings us into the body that exists right here, into the feelings that exist right here, and all the things that are happening right here, right now with us. I mean, we are so busy, and that's why it is so difficult for us, especially in North America, to practice the art of Tantra, because we're constantly busy. So it's something that I really want to invite you to explore today. Again, as I mentioned, it empowers every single aspect of life. And the best part about living a tantric life is that there are no prerequisites. Just like you're taking tonight's course and there are no prerequisites. You don't have to take a course in Kama Sutra or sensuality or really any kind of philanthropic or any kind of cultural studies. You can begin your tantric, sensual, and pleasurable journey right here, right now, and I really invite you to do it. And you can really start doing it from this moment. So I am excited that so many of you are joining me tonight and are really embracing, I'm hoping, the idea of tantric living. So let's talk about some things that you can do to actually invite more tantric pleasure into your life. So what are the rituals that you can really practice every day? Because again, we are so busy. We do not connect with our partners. We often don't connect with our food. We often don't connect even with ourselves. We think we know what we want. However, do we really know what we want? Do we really know what we want from our children, from our pleasure, from our sexual adventures, from our work, and so on and so on? I mean, because we don't really have time to really tune in with ourselves and to truly understand what is it that we want from our journey? So Tantra actually teaches us and helps us to get in touch with all of those wonderful things that are a part of us. So again, it's about quieting your mind and really creating very conscious rituals that can help us live a more tantric lifestyle. So I chose about 5 rituals that again you will be able to find in your handout if you reach out to me after the show and send me a message, and I will be very happy to send you handouts that I prepared for tonight's lecture. So the number one thing that I wanted to share with you, the number one ritual that I find that really is very important, is our sense of touch is very closely related to Tantra and how we feel and to the tantric experience of life. So really get comfortable with a sense of touch. And when people hear about get comfortable with a sense of touch, I teach a lot of workshops here in Toronto. And when people hear about the sense of touch, they say, well, but hold on a second, I am single. How am I gonna manage that one? And the truth is, when you're single, that's actually the most perfect time to practice Tantra, because you actually have this a little bit more space to get in touch with yourself, because before you really engage in the tantric pleasure for couples, you have to understand, what does tantric pleasure mean to you? What does pleasure in the first place mean to you? So this sense of touch, I mean, it is so important for our health. First of all, it reduces our stress levels and boosts our serotonin, which is our happiness hormone. So very important. And you can really learn how to touch yourself. And it can be a sexual touch. However, it doesn't really have to be. I always tell people that I work with, that I coach sometimes, start from giving yourself a hug. It is incredibly important. See what feels good to you. You know, is there something that will really take your emotions to the next level? Maybe you're able to really give yourself a hug and to really melt into that hug, because a lot of people at first, sometimes who are disconnected from their sense of touch, feel uncomfortable when it comes to touching and even doing it to themselves because they're so disconnected. So really experiment with what feels good on your skin. A touch, perhaps nylons, perhaps experimenting with different fabrics, leather, silk, right? Latex. I mean, people like to play with a lot of things, and maybe this is something that you can really experiment, you know, in the comfort of your own home, in the comfort of your bedroom. You know, fabrics are not gender specific. See what feels good to you. The point is to understand what gives you and brings you tantric pleasure. So really see what works for you. I thank you for being patient with me while I'm sipping on my water. So touch, very important. Start from doing it right now. Give yourself a really tight, tender hug. Give yourself some love. Give yourself some compassion, and really see how your body responds to it. The next ritual that I wanted to talk to you is very important. What is the place where your day begins and where your day ends? And that place is your bedroom. Again, single people are not excluded here. Single people are, just as couples are encouraged to really create a sanctuary that makes you happy, that works for you, that inspires you. Remove clutter from your sanctuary. I mean, this is the place where you can truly channel your not only tantric energy, but also your sexual energy. Sexual energy is so important, whether you have a sexual partner or you don't have a sexual partner. Extremely important. So remove the clutter from your bedroom. Make sure that it's the space that really sensually inspires you. Place perfume somewhere where you can actually smell it, unless of course it bothers you and it doesn't let you sleep. Think of incense. Think of fabrics that really tantalize you. Maybe it's silk, maybe it's linens. You know, invest into something that will really feel good for a long period of time. You know, and you can really connect with your pleasure through surrounding yourself with photographs. Maybe there is a sentiment that you brought from your previous vacation that was truly, truly empowering. I always keep in my bedroom, little sentiments that I bring from my solo travels, because I am a fearless solo traveler, a badass solo traveler, because I believe that that's what helps me connect with my sensuality as a woman, with my fearlessness, with my, badass ability to be on my own. That is something that empowers me. So see what empowers you. Is there some sort of a sentiment that really, really will help you connect to who you are, to your pleasure? So and really channel that tantric pleasure in the room where your day ends and also where it begins. So your bedroom is very important. Practice the art of sensual eating. I mean, I made my career of on talking about sensual eating, about sensual pleasure of eating. Sex and food are two only forms of art that involve all five of your senses. If that's not something that speaks to you about sensuality of food, well, I don't know what will. So really, engage with your food. Let the food nourish you. Really take a break, take a breather. Let it truly tantalize your senses. Feel it on your tongue. Maybe even engage your sense of touch again. And truly, truly enjoy it. Forget about calories. At least once a day, think of food as something that is your tantric pleasure. It will stimulate your nose. Think about how your sense of smell responds to the tantric pleasure of eating. Think about how your skin responds to it. And you will notice something very different. You might even notice it in your skin. Maybe your skin will just get covered in just tender little goosebumps that will, truly make you feel like engaged with your sensuality, with yourself, with your pleasure. So I really, really want to encourage you to be able to do that. So food, five senses. It's something that is important to do while you're unpowered and really, really calm. And I really enjoy you to do one thing before you eat with your partner, if there is a partner who exists in your life. Make sure that you get comfortable with tantric pleasure through food on your own. Go for lunch and truly indulge. See how it makes you feel. It will be a very empowering experience, I can promise you. Another ritual that I wanted to quickly talk about, because we are running out of time and I can talk till the cows come home. Self-care and checking in. Really, Tantra starts from within. See what gives you pleasure. See what makes you happy. Are you feeling stimulated? Are you feeling turned on? Are there needs that you need, are there things that you need to give yourself, and maybe some of your needs are not met? Maybe what you need is a nap, and that's something that will make a world of difference when it comes to your sense of well-being, and will get you in touch with yourself and your sensuality and your tantric ability to experience the world. Are you able to feel creative? Look at yourself around people. Do you get sick around certain people? Do you get depleted after speaking to certain people? Right? Because we have energies, and we pick up on energies, and that might be something that is a little bit wishy-washy there, and some people will argue, but I mean, really, when it comes to the world of Tantra, that is something that is very important. So ask yourself what turns you on. Is it erotica? Is it self-pleasure? Is it again, a movie that maybe will kind of get you really rekindled with your pleasure and love for life? So really think of all those things. And then, of course, last but not least, most of you probably, when you think of tantric pleasure, came in today's lecture thinking about tantric pleasure through sex, tantric pleasure through lovemaking. I will just quickly touch base on that, because I think that it is an important fact, of course, of life, and I really want to chat very quickly about that. When it comes to Tantra, the ultimate goal is not an orgasm. It's about building again that celestial connection that takes you to the next level of happiness, of pleasure, of your awareness of yourself, and also of your relationship. It's about connecting through your breath, through touching, through experiencing the connection fully. So make sure that you listen to your body, whether your body is able to receive and to give that erotic pleasure that you're of course expecting to get from sexual encounter. So really it's about building the pleasure, it's about being with yourself, it's about understanding what pleasure means to you. And that's really something that will kind of bring a new awareness to your love life and to your understanding of what sexual pleasure is to you. So again, a very important pillar to living a tantric life. However, I want to stress one more time, if you do not have a partner, your life can still be filled with tantric, sensual, delicious, sexy delights that can be derived from self-love, from self-care, from truly enjoying the experience of life. And I really, really hope that tonight's little mini lecture will truly inspire you to begin this incredible tantric, sensual pleasure of your own, and really think of yourself as a sensual being. And some of us really are so busy and so out of touch. We are, some of us are parents and spouses and workers, and we have 10 different hats that we need to wear at the same time, but still we are sensual beings. And I want to invite you all to channel this through different platforms, different outlets, and believe me, it will be worth it in the end. So once again, I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. I am very happy if you get in touch with me at the end of the show, I will be very excited to send you all the handouts with all the information and resources that I used to prepare tonight's lecture. So I really, really hope that you take me up on my offer and send me a message, and I will be very happy to send you tonight's handouts. Also, for more things sensual, for more things about when it comes to pleasure, please go to dailysensuality.com. You will be able to find inspiring videos, inspiring reads, and of course all things sensual, all things when it comes to pleasure. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. My name is Emanuela Fernandes, and of course, lots more coming your way, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week again on Sensual Talk. Thank you to Dronish Media for sponsoring us tonight. Thank you for joining me this evening for, of course, this evening School of Sensuality. Thank you. All right.